Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, Gorey-based startup Abodoo has just announced that it aims to create 1,000 jobs for the Southeast region through remote working. The company's co-founder, Vanessa Tierney, joins me now to discuss their involvement in a new remote working movement. Vanessa, perhaps you can start by telling us a little bit about the business.
Okay. Abodoo is a platform that's been created to connect companies with individuals, professionals that would like to work from home, work from a hub, have flexi hours. Essentially, anyone that doesn't want to be 100% office-based can now identify a role on Abodoo. And the word or name Abodoo comes from your home being abode and do being work. But we're not just limited to home working. We really look at all solutions for people.
You're one of the first companies to move into the new Hatch Lab in Gorey. Vanessa, maybe you could start by telling us about the Hatch Lab and how this environment has benefited a startup business like your own.
For us, the Hatch Lab has been a real game changer. We moved to just outside of Gorey 3 years ago, and at the time, connectivity issues were allayed from the house and from different small offices or hotels. And the opening of the tech build there in the Hatch Lab has meant that you can go in and set up in an incubator situation, or for ourselves, we're a little bit more advanced than that and go on an accelerator program and grow with the Hatch Lab. So it gives us flexibility. Like, we do what we sell. So our team, and our team is growing now, don't have to be there every day. So we look to work 2 days from the office and then 3 days from home. But the whole environment that's been set up there has just been fantastic, and the staff are so welcoming, and they're really encouraging of businesses to expand out of Wexford and really create as much employment as possible.
Now, as you say, Abodoo is focused on the whole area of remote working. But how would you define remote working, and what forms does it take?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and there is a lot of uncertainty about what is remote working. So if we look back to 20, 30 years ago, remote working started with people working from home, and typically that was telecommuting or perhaps working, even selling Tupperware. But it has evolved so much so where you look at roles right up to salaries that will pay 50 to 250,000 a year, and you can do those from home. So you've got really three variations. You've got one which is home working or remote working, and that's where you set up your home office, you ensure you've got the right connectivity, and you work away. The second is a hybrid model where you're happy to commute into the office maybe a few days a week, and then the other days work from home. And then the third is the hub, and the hub is going to be really, really good for Ireland, because we're delighted to say our national sponsor is Open Air, and as they connect homes and businesses around Ireland, it really means that locations that were perhaps unused before, buildings, banks, hotels, can now be used for doing work, and you can create a small team environment. So yes, you can still travel to head office in Dublin or Cork, but you can work the other days from Gorey or from places around Sligo or Kerry. So it's going to open up so many opportunities for people.
And how did you get that Eureka moment for this business?
Well, it's not just me. There's a team, but the Eureka moments, I think, were a combination of 7 years ago, I wasn't very well myself, and if the choice of remote working was not on the table, I would have had to have a career break. But luckily, I was able to do my role from home, and at the time that was in England. And my role was in recruitment, and I started to see a trend of more and more technology companies initially embracing remote working, and not even having to meet people face to face before making job offers. And then second to that was really the IDA identifying more and more companies looking to land in Ireland. Like, we have examples now of companies that have fully remote teams. They don't even have an office, and these are payrolled, good salaries, maybe 35, 40,000 a year, working from home. And our mission with the IDA, with launching Abodoo, is to build a national talent database of remote and flexible workers, that not only can we encourage the companies that are in the cities to maybe start hiring people in the hubs and remotely, but also more companies that are looking at Europe and saying, where will we land? Ireland is a brilliant, brilliant population of educated workers, and we only have 2 million working. working. So if we can try and encourage more companies to land here and be open with their working models, it could be a game changer for the country.
And is the widespread rollout of high-speed broadband one of the catalysts for the projected growth in remote working in Ireland?
Yes, I mean, we were delighted to get Open Air as a sponsor on this because what's happening right now in Ireland is incredible. I know there's been sort of a lot of bad press in areas that are still not covered, but today as it stands, 1.6 million homes and businesses are connected. By next year, that'll be 1.9 million. And we had actually the Minister of Communications, Dennis Naughton, he Skyped into the Hatch Lab at our opening of our office last week. And it was tremendous because he could speak to the whole audience, talk about how we're aiming to be a 5 gig economy. We'll have, in some areas of Ireland, speeds that are faster than Tokyo. Now, that's incredible. So, it depends on your role. If you're doing sales or you're a registered nurse and you're working remotely, maybe you only need a certain level of 10 or 15 meg. But developers and people uploading media files need the higher range. And speaking from my personal situation, when I first moved here, believe it or not, we had 1 meg, which meant that we had very limited options to do anything. And we actually got connected 2 weeks ago and we have 140 meg. And that has just transformed my day-to-day role and gives me the choice to work from home or from the office.
So how does Abodoo work for employers and for candidates?
So for a company, they can go on today, and if they have a role that's not 100% office-based, they can go in, register their company details and post their jobs. What we have spent a lot of time doing, like 9 months in development, is putting in preference settings, which mean that gone are the days of receiving 100 CVs and having to sift through it. You will get matches, say this person is an 80-90% match. And how that match arises is from an algorithm, but keeping it as simple as anything. When someone uploads, a worker uploads their details, they say, look, this is what I want. This is the salary I need. These are the benefits. I want to be fully remote. I'm open to being hybrid. They enter all of that data, and it's the technology that we've built that does the smart matching. So a bit like a dating website, but hopefully more accurate. Both sides are able to see what match percentage and act on that. But key to our platform was putting in a speed test, because at the end of the day, if you're going to work outside of an office, you have to ensure you've got connectivity. So we have that built in so that an individual can see the speed that they have, and their future employer can ensure that they've got the level that's required for the job. And if they don't, they can maybe get an upgrade in advance of starting their new position. Outside of that, we will be launching next year more community interaction. So we appreciate that sometimes maybe working out of the big smoke, it can be a little bit more lonely or remote. And wouldn't it be great to be able to connect with fellow accountants or fellow nurses in the area? So that's something we'll make available, as well as online training. And I will just say that right now Abodoo is web app, and our mobile app will be launching in January, February. So you can log on from your phone, but it's just not as pretty. It will be in a few months.
And Vanessa, is remote working more suited to some roles than others?
Yes, I think so. And for some personalities as well. So I guess starting on the roles, we all know tech roles, developers, software engineers, those roles can be very much solo based, and working from home or a hub lends itself to that. But we are finding both on the employer and the worker side, we've had brilliant registered nurse roles, which you get to work from home but also a bit on the road. We have healthcare administrators, we have financial managers, we have the traditional sales and marketing, we have HR and recruiter roles, both full-time and part-time. It's really incredible what can go remote. But on the personality side, and I'll just touch on this, a lot of people kind of predict that the sort of person that's going to be good for working from home is maybe someone who's just more reactive, more introverted. However, the people that are actually proving to be really successful are those that are more social, more outgoing, more extroverted, and, very determined. And I think that has lent itself to a lot of career choices going remote. So if you think perhaps, you really require the team and office environment every day, you'll be surprised. But there are so many more benefits as an individual to going remote outside of that.
Now, I'm sure there are employers listening to this morning's show, and while they're taking the benefits that you've outlined seriously, they're probably thinking, how can I manage my employees' productivity when they're working from home?
Yeah, the first one is trust, and we were coming across it again and again with companies where they perhaps want to do it, but whether it's the trust around the people, the data, the workflow, there's that issue of will it work? And there are many examples now where companies have done it, and there's an evolution to going remote. You don't have to tomorrow have all your staff working from home. Generally it starts with companies open up to doing job share or part-time or flexi hours, or maybe one day from home, or perhaps saying, we're really struggling to find software developers and we're based in a hotspot. Why don't we find another location that in rural Ireland's going to work? So there's an evolution, and you can do it steadily, but something that we are launching in conjunction with the IDA in 2 weeks' time is an employer go remote and be flexible toolkit to get companies started on the journey. We have experts from HR, legal, finance background who have helped other companies of every size, small to large, make the transition. And so we're there to help. So if a company's on the fence or they've done it and they're having some challenges, pick up the phone and we're here to help.
Now, for many people, the social aspect of work is very important to employees. Are remote workers in danger of feeling isolated and detached from their workplace?
I think the ideal is to have a blend, and if that's coming to the head office or going to a hub, but some sort of social interaction with your teammates is really important. There are companies that are now doing 100% remote in Ireland, but they do ensure that they meet up once a month or every 2 months, and that's key. I think the onboarding as well, some companies do that remotely, but we really encourage companies to bring people together that are starting off and do their onboarding together and their training and their reviews face-to-face where possible. But when you balance, a 2-hour round-trip commute every day and an additional 10,000 on average that you're maybe spending on petrol, lunch, coffees, work clothes, and, if you've got children, the fact that you can't be there if there's an issue, it takes you a while to get them. You weigh all those up. People are really wanting that balance back. And, I personally know before we even started Abodoo, so many talented parents that are not working right now because it doesn't make financial sense when you factor in childcare and a long commute. And so by making this shift, you've got all these amazing talent pools that open up. You've got the diaspora abroad. Like, we've so many Irish people that have left Ireland in the last 10 years that have now had children. They want to come home and they can't afford the city. So if they can identify a role and even start working in that job while they're still abroad and move back with security and build that dream house, like, these are all now possibilities for people. And what we need is to make this a movement, and with volume we will gain power. We'll be able to influence. So I guess anyone listening today, if they want to go remote, register.
Now, as we said, not every role can go remote. So could this potentially lead to a sense of resentment within an organisation where some of the staff have the ability to go remote but others don't?
Yeah, and it's something that we need to sort of predict. I have seen that in organisations that are 100% remote, they give variations to. So even if roles that you feel need to be office-based, in time when someone is trained up and they've got the skills, they're given some flexibility. But it goes back to that team spirit. If someone's having to travel to the office every day, and I know big companies in Ireland right now where the favouritism is really one-sided. Some people are getting to work from home a few days a week. Others have been forced to come to the office, and that resentment's building. But it's about having an open forum and really seeing if someone is working in the office 5 days a week, what can be done. And if they can't work from home. Well, what flexibility or allowance can be made? Can they finish at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, be home to perhaps see their children or do fitness, and then do their admin in the evening? So companies are having to rethink how they manage people in order to keep the best talent, because, you know, you can't win the war for talent just on increasing the salary, because a company can't afford that. So they have to start thinking ahead. And I'm asked again and again about millennials and, you know, what do millennials need? Surely they want to come to the office. And, you know, I know one office in Dublin right now, they've just put in a rock climbing wall to try and get people to feel like it's a work and play area. But, you know, at the end of the day, millennials are going to have children and they're going to move on, and they too will want the mobility, and they're already asking for it because they're used to working on the move. So I think if companies are not now thinking about the future work model, and Virgin Media estimates that 60% of all workers will be working outside of the office a percentage of the time by 2020, then they're going to miss out on amazing talent and keeping their best people.
Now, you mentioned a number of times throughout the interview about your involvement with IDA. Now, of course, our listeners will be aware that the IDA are there to support foreign direct investment, most of which are the larger multinational companies in Ireland. So what is your focus for the SME market, and how much of a challenge do you expect that to be?
The partnership with IDA is fantastic. And yes, you know, we're excited, obviously, because the multinationals, especially if they're coming from America has started to embrace remote working 5, 6, 7 years ago. So they're ahead of us. So there's not the education piece. For the companies here in Ireland, we absolutely want to support them. Because at the end of the day, when they're competing for talent, they're competing generally on salary. And so if we can educate them to the benefits and support them in perhaps identifying hubs where there's now fibre connecting in, and provide them the talent and make it affordable for them to hire, then they really can become very competitive, not just here in Ireland, but on a global scale. We're thrilled, to announce that we only went live 4 weeks ago, and this week alone, we have 100 jobs from Irish SMEs and SMBs going up on Abodoo. And that's remarkable. We are hiring right now ourselves for the Hatch Lab for digital sales, marketing, and also administration. And so as our team grows, we intend to expand the client base here in Ireland.
And are you looking to bring Abodoo to international markets in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. The having an internet company means that you're international from day one, but really, where you put your energy and your efforts from a marketing and sales perspective, we are going to keep it local initially for a few reasons. One, we want to capture the talent. We want to educate companies. We want to transform as many lives as we can for people who are not working, that are skilled, for underemployed, for people who want to come back from Ireland. That's our mission initially. However, our CEO, Sue Marshall, who previously ran an international job board for Dennis O'Brien, she's based in London and she's back and forth. But the next step for us will be the UK. And then beyond that will be America, because a lot of the companies that we're talking to or that are signed up are American. And so that's our sort of 2-3 year plan.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.